one of the biggest shows of the year so far, The Last of Us. I've got my buddy Tim here who has played the game not once but twice and is going through it now again with the show. So we're going to talk about The Last of Us. Hey guys, Dan here, alongside, like I said, my buddy Tim. I thought this would be an interesting one to talk to you about The Last of Us. Everyone's talking about this show, and I am not a gamer. My gaming knowledge is like Mario, Sonic, all of that, Tetris, all of that kind of stuff. But you are a gamer with this game specifically.
Yes.
So you've played it. You played it when it was originally out.
And I played it once since then,
and you beat it, right? Is that how it works? Okay,
I've played it all the way through.
Okay, and then now you're going through. You told me through each episode, you're playing the game up to where the episode ends.
So I'll watch the episode, and then it's been a while since I played it, so I don't remember all the beats, all the things, and then I'll play the game up to where the show ends, basically, kind of.
All right. And so I thought it would be great to get you on because everybody's talking about this show. I have no knowledge of. I knew what the game was. I knew sort of the basic premise of it. But to have somebody on to sort of that's been there, done that, played it. But I do want to point out we're going to be very spoiler free in the first portion of this, as much as we can, and then we're going to get into, after our grades, the second half of the video will be more in-depth sort of detailed stuff. I've only seen the first 3 episodes. I think is there 5 or 6 out now?
6 just dropped this past Sunday.
Right.
So there's 6 out.
And how many are there total?
There's going to be 9.
So okay, 3
more.
3 left.
And it got renewed for a second season.
I did get renewed for a second season, and they have the podcast that you can listen to as well. Did you check any of those out?
No.
Okay, so on HBO Max, they have, when you click on the episode, there's like, listen to the podcast. And I guess you can get it from, Apple or whatever too, or Spotify. But you can click on it and it's like a 40-minute chat with the producers, the director of that episode. They talk about the choices they made and this and that. And so for me, who knew nothing about the game really, it was very enlightening of, what exactly they were changing from the game and what, casting wise, they talked about Pedro and whatever. So that's something, maybe to check out as well.
I after the episode air, like, I'll fast forward through the coming weeks because I don't want to see what's coming.
No spoilers.
But then they have, like, maybe a 5-minute thing of, like, behind the episode. I'll watch those.
Oh, okay.
On HBO.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Oh, they probably, okay. Yeah. So I just did the podcasts. I turned it off. As soon as the credit starts rolling, I'm like, okay, well, I don't need to watch anymore. Okay, so there is like a video thing.
Yeah, it's like
I like when they do that. Apple TV does that a lot with their shows.
They did the same thing with House of Dragon and stuff like that.
Okay, right. All right, so let's very spoiler-free talk about the basic premise here.
So this is based on the 2013 video game by the same name, The Last of Us. It's by Naughty Dog. And that's why I got into it, because Naughty Dog was the company that made the Uncharted video games.
Oh,
and that's the whole reason I bought a PlayStation 3 is to play Uncharted, because I thought it looked really cool. Indiana Jones this.
Yeah.
So, and then I saw that these people did the same, like Last of Us was also by Naughty Dog. So that's the only reason I ever picked up this video game.
Wow.
And that's my game experience.
You're a brand loyalist, Tim.
Yeah. That's my gaming experience, is that I've done these, I've done a couple other things like it, but it's not like I'm a super gamer.
Yeah, like it surprised me when you said you had played these through twice, because I don't think of you as a gamer. Yeah. But that's interesting. And the Uncharted movie came out. Did you see that?
Yes.
It was okay.
I thought it was okay.
Yeah, it was all right.
So this is based off the video game, and the very simple, spoiler-free, as much as I can, synopsis is that after a global pandemic destroys civilization, a smuggler named Joel must use his skills to get a young girl out of a quarantine zone.
That's it.
That is
That's all that happens.
That is my basic synopsis. The series was created by Craig Mazin, who did Chernobyl, and Neil Druckmann, who did the video game. He is one of, like, I think he got promoted to vice president of Uncharted, of Naughty Dog after he did Uncharted. So like his hands are in this as well.
Yeah.
So that's great. The cast, you have Pedro Pascal as Joel, you know him from Game of Thrones, The Mandalorian.
He's like, I mean, the one of the hottest people right now. He just hosted SNL.
I never watched Narcos, but apparently
he big on Narcos. Yep.
So other cast, we have Bella Ramsey, also from Game of Thrones. We have Nico Parker, who was in Dumbo. We have Gabriel Luna. He was from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. We have Anna Torv, who was on Fringe. We have Nick Offerman, Parks and Rec. We have Murray Bartlett. He just won an Emmy for The White Lotus. So you got a good
stacked cast,
and there's other people.
Many HBO alum too.
Yeah,
actually.
And then even the voice actors who played some of the main voice casts from the video game have small roles in this.
Oh, that's cool
as well.
Yeah.
It takes scenes and dialogue directly from the game, but then they also expand and make changes in meaningful ways. So some of the scenes are like straight out the video game.
And that's the thing I knew about it going in, because the first week or two, you saw like those memes pop up or whatever that was like a side-by-side comparison of like, here's the game, here's the show. And yeah, it was like, and it kind of blew me away just because, okay, I'm not a gamer, but I watch a lot of movies and TV, and I know that as a general rule, other than the Sonic the Hedgehog movies, most movie adaptations and show adaptations are poorly done.
Yeah.
And so it sort of struck me as interesting that they were just, I mean, they're really taking direct things from the lineage of what we know about these games and putting it on there. And to me, as sort of a cynic, you know, you could say, oh, well, that's really pandering, or whatever, but it seems like it was done very, very lovingly and very, very well. And knowing, and I heard this in the podcast too, in the first episode, knowing that the guy that created the game has such a heavy hand in this. Yeah. Obviously, it's created with care.
Yeah, and he's also willing to make changes. Like if the other creator is like, "Hey, how about we do this?" and he's like, "Why didn't I think of that when we made the game?"
Right.
Like, of course, like this sounds so great. I would say so video game adaptations have a bad rap because a lot of them are bad.
Yeah.
Sonic the Hedgehog, you mentioned that, is a great adaptation. It's taking the character, adding Easter eggs and stuff like that, and making a new adventure.
Right.
This is taking the amazing story of the video game, and that's probably what it's best known for, is that the story of the video game is amazing. So I think that's always the fear of adapting video games, is like they're like, oh, we're going to change the story, we're going to change this.
Right.
They kept the essence there, and they expand on it. So I think that's why I would say this is the best video game adaptation ever.
Wow.
But I mean,
but you're not the first to say that. I mean, people are saying that.
But I mean, compared to other things like Sonic the Hedgehog, it doesn't have a story. It has a character. Right. They just have to make their own story.
Yeah, that's the thing. I've not really played video games with like long overarching stories like this, or like Tomb Raider maybe has a good story. Something like that. Or
Uncharted. Uncharted. There's 3 video games, but they do have decent stories. But they took bits and pieces from some of them, and they made their own thing with the movie, and I could appreciate that.
Right.
Not everyone has to do a copy and paste, but the thing is, with a movie, you have 2 hours that is trying to encapsulate a game that could be like 14 hours of playing time. So with 9 episodes, you have a little bit more leeway with that. But then you have like Mortal Kombat. You just take the characters and that would probably be, after Sonic, was probably the best video game adaptation. The first Mortal Kombat was
okay.
I think people somewhat like that.
What about that Jolie Tomb Raider? People liked that, didn't they?
I thought they were okay.
Or maybe they didn't like it. I don't know. We know the Mario Brothers movie was horrible.
Mario Brothers horrible.
And the one that's coming out looks horrible.
Yeah.
Doom, that was famously bad.
Yeah.
Is Resident Evil a video game?
Yeah.
I think people like the first
People
movie
like the first one,
right?
but people who played the video games were probably like, this is not Resident Evil. It just like took some, like they didn't even take like the main character. Like they're like, and they had to like they introduced the main playing character of the Resident Evil games in like the second one. Like, oh, here's this one that you kind of wanted.
And there's 2 games, right?
There are 2 games.
So do we know yet if the second season is going to be based on the second game, or are we continuing the storyline? Do we know any of that yet?
I think the
From the
assumption is that the first season is going to be the first game, and the second season is going to be the second game.
And that's it.
I've never played the second game.
Okay.
Because I have a PlayStation 3, I'm not a big gamer, and that was for PlayStation 4.
Oh,
I haven't
you
I haven't justified buying a PlayStation 4 just to play one game.
Right.
But I talked to my buddy, and he has a PlayStation 4 and that game, and he's letting me borrow it.
Oh,
so
all right. So we'll know more about that
after the
then.
season. I'll do that.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, the acting here. Let's talk about that.
Well, Pedro Pascal.
What can you say about this guy?
He's the hottest actor right now.
He really is.
He's great. Like even compared to his stuff in The Mandalorian, like you don't see his face for most of the show,
right.
and he still can convey like emotion by just a head tilt or something. So like
he's one of those.
Great. Game of Thrones, he was great on that. It wasn't a big part, but it was
yeah,
good.
I didn't watch Game of Thrones, but I don't associate him with that. Was he in like the later seasons, or
he was in I think the 3rd season. I think he was in the 3rd season. Maybe it was the 2nd season, but it wasn't the later seasons.
Okay.
But Bella Ramsey, she was a small role in the later seasons of Game of Thrones. She's supposed to have one scene, and then people loved her, and they're like, "Oh, we gotta bring her back." And then she had
always good.
She had a couple more scenes after that, because she was so loved. Gabriel Luna was great in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. He played Ghost Rider. I love Fringe.
I'm glad you said that because I recognized her and I'm like, where do I know her from?
Seeing Anna Torv, I haven't seen her since Fringe. I was like, oh my god.
Yeah.
Nick Offerman never disappoints.
Never. Love him.
Mary Bartlett was the best thing about White Lotus for me.
Right.
So you have
you don't like what's her face?
I thought it was okay.
Jennifer Coolidge.
I didn't think she deserved I don't think
he was great though. He's great, and I don't think I was familiar with him before that.
No.
Maybe he had done bit parts or something that I had seen here or there, but.
Yeah.
He
was
great.
Acting is amazing. The effects are amazing. The world building. If you didn't know like the video game or stuff like that, I think it does great for the world building. And
what's interesting is obviously the theme of the pandemic, and this all happened in the video game in 2013, and obviously it came into our world more recently. But I think it's very interesting subject matter because, and I've talked about this, you've heard me, in different TV shows or movies that tackle a pandemic type theme in the last year or two. It's like it hits too close to home or whatever, this and that. But this is a completely different thing.
Yes.
Because it's, not what COVID was, which is, more viral, autoimmune, whatever.
Yeah.
This is fungal. And it's a whole different ball game.
So that stinger that opens the first episode, that's not part of the game.
Okay.
But it sets it up so well because they talk about it takes place in the 60s, and it talks about pandemic and what it means, and it takes you right back to like 2 years ago, and you're like, oh yeah. Even if you had no idea what this game was about, you're like, okay, I kind of know what I'm getting.
Now I'm on board. Right.
Now I know what I'm getting into. I can tell how a world can fall apart so quickly.
Right.
So I think it set it up so perfectly.
Well, and it's something that has sort of been, in some ways, like beat to death with quote unquote zombie type things.
Yeah.
Zombie Land, and all these different movies, The Walking Dead, and whatever. And this is such a different and fresh take on all of that.
Yeah.
Which I was not expecting. I really, I knew it was going to be good because I heard nothing but great things about it. But I mean, this blew me away on just about every level.
Yeah. And like you're like, oh well, like some people are like, oh man, this is nothing like The Walking Dead. I thought I was signing up for something like The Walking Dead, and then it's not.
One of my friends even said to me, like, that doesn't necessarily follow like entertainment news and stuff, was like, that doesn't seem intriguing. Like, I already did The Walking Dead for a couple seasons and it was stupid, so I gave up on it. I'm sick of zombies. I'm sick of this. And I was like, no. This is not what you expect.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I want to get into a little bit of spoiler territory here. So why don't we give our grades, and then if you want to stop watching, stop watching. I don't think we'll give spoilers for everything, but at least stuff going on in maybe the first episode or something,
Okay.
or the second episode. For me, this is easily, one of the best shows that not only of this year, but that I've seen in recent years, certainly of its kind. This is not the stuff I'm normally drawn to. There were a couple times that I had to shield my eyes, especially when certain things happen and things are coming out of people's faces and whatever. It's definitely a little bit on that horror tip, but this is an easy A for me.
I give it an A+.
Yeah, I should preface, I don't give A+ until the whole season is over. But this for me is about as high of an A as I
wrote
can give.
A+ depending on final 3 episodes.
Right.
I mean, I wrote that down.
Yeah.
I mean,
because it could go anywhere, and so I like to reserve that. But this is one of the best things I've seen in such a long time.
Based on the fact that they've nailed the first 2/3 of the season, that I don't see how they could falter,
right?
Especially when they have the template of the game to kind of be like, okay, we know what we're going, we know what we're doing. So
as long as they don't boog up that ending,
I don't.
But I'm only 3 episodes in, don't forget, so I'm not as far as you with how great it is.
We'll just
let's do a little spoiler chat here.
Yeah. So
because some of the other actors involved have special things going on.
So with me watching it, I then go and play the game like you mentioned. It's just like oh my god, like I don't remember these things from playing the game 5 years ago, or however long it was since I last played it. I'm just like, oh man, I don't remember this. But then it's just like, oh, okay. Yeah, now I'm this far. Oh, yeah, that was a piece of dialogue that they used in the second episode. I'm like, oh my god, yeah. I don't remember these things. Because it's so much.
Yeah, why
detail.
would you? Right.
Yeah. So I don't really remember all these things that are happening exactly, but I'm like, oh yeah, I do kind of remember these characters. Okay, yeah. I kind of yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, we got to talk about I think episode 3.
Yeah.
Because
give Nick Offerman the Emmy.
Oh my, yeah, he's definitely gonna get the Emmy.
I
haven't even seen half the shows that are gonna come out this year, but he's getting the Emmy for best guest star.
His biggest competition is Murray Bartlett.
Murray Bartlett. Yeah, exactly. And here's I sometimes hate the internet. You know me, I don't look at trailers.
Yeah.
But I knew what was going to happen in episode 3 before I saw a frame of episode 1, because I was a couple weeks late to the party, and there were all these, headlines, Nick Offerman's heartbreaking performance, and this, that, and the other. All right, well, heartbreaking can only mean one thing in a TV show where people are dying. So it's like, all right, I know what I'm getting into. I knew his character was gay also. So I knew some things going into the episode, but it still exceeded, any expectation I had. I know it was, I guess, kind of a big reveal that his character was gay or whatever, but I already knew that part, and it was still so powerful. And I texted this to you, I love the way they incorporated Pedro Pascal's character in with him, or with them, I should say, the two of them, because from what I did sort of read from the headlines, it seemed like this was not only a standalone episode, but the Pedro Pascal character wasn't even in it. He wasn't involved. And so I loved how they got him involved and then brought him back around at the end of the episode. Yeah. It was so brilliantly written. It just blew me away.
Yeah. And the thing is, this is probably the biggest departure from the game.
Right. Which is why it's the lowest rated episode on IMDb, because I think game players are this isn't what we're used to, and whatever.
I don't think it's that.
What do you think it is? The gay stuff? Hating the review bombing on the gays?
It
probably.
Is exactly that.
Okay.
I think
that's probably true.
I think most people who are gamers appreciate it.
Okay.
I think maybe the biggest, probably, if you are a gamer and you're it kind of takes you out of it, and you're kind of moving away from the infected, the zombies. They call it infected.
I call them zombies because that's just what I know about.
That is what they're. So there isn't much infected in this, but it is a great story, and I think by the end of the episode, when Joel is reading that letter,
when he returns,
he kind of had, you needed that. In the game, it's kind of the opposite. It's kind of Bill is telling him not to get connected with anybody.
Oh,
It's very like anti.
So those characters do exist in the game.
So Bill and Frank do exist in the game.
Oh, okay.
It is hinted that they do have a
romantic relationship.
But spoiler for the game, if you are watching this, don't listen to this. Play the game first. You don't see Frank alive ever in this game.
Oh, okay. So they gave this whole backstory that did not exist in the game for these characters. Okay.
You meet up with Bill. You're going on a mission to try to get a truck. And then there's a lot of infected. You run away from it. You go in this house, and then you see Frank hanging. He got infected, and he hung himself.
Oh, jeez. Okay.
And he leaves Bill this very hateful message, like, I hate you, blah, blah, blah.
Wow.
Kind of like, it was just like, kind of like, in the episode where they you're yelling and screaming, they kind of got into one of those fights,
right.
and like, Frank left him, and like, was like, I'm going to get this battery for this truck. You said don't go there. And he's like, I got it, but you're kind of right. I got bit.
Oh, man. Okay.
And then you leave, and Bill's alive when you leave. So
interesting.
It's a big deviation, but I think it works so well in the story. It gives a lot of punch to the relationship that Joel and Ellie are forming.
Yeah. And let's talk about Ellie here. My God.
Bella Ramsey's amazing.
And I don't know her. You said she was in Game of Thrones.
She's in Game of Thrones for... spoiler for Game of Thrones.
Right.
She was in one... I think the second last season she had one scene, and in the last season she had a couple...
Okay, so she's not like...
She wasn't a main character.
She's not, Cersei Lannister here.
No,
okay.
But it was like, oh my God, who's this young girl being...
Right.
Like...
And the thing I like about her, other than her great acting, is she has a very unique look. Like, I feel like if this was cast by another network or another studio, they would have a sort of Hollywoodized look about her, and she looks very unique.
Yeah.
And certainly not in a bad way or anything, but she stands out.
Yeah.
And I think that's awesome because it's, it's something a little bit different. It's more realistic.
Yeah. I mean,
everybody in the real world isn't, perfect 10, beautiful, everything. It's like she has a different look about her that is eye-catching.
She doesn't look exactly like Ellie from the game.
Okay.
They gave her like the same shirt and stuff like that. Her hair is the same color anyway. They gave her the little scar over her eye that she has.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I think she embodies the spunkiness of Ellie from the game.
Yeah.
So I have no problems with her.
And is she the same age in the game? Because she's 14 in the show.
I think she's about 14 in the game as well.
Okay.
I think that's what they say.
Yeah.
I think that's what it is. Yeah.
Okay.
I think Bella Ramsey
amazing.
I think Bella Ramsey in real life is about 18. I think at this point.
I think that's true.
But this was filmed like a year and a half ago.
Right.
I think so. I think she was probably like 17 at the time.
And she looks young.
Yeah, she looks young.
So yeah, it makes sense. I loved the way that they introduced that whole thing. Like you know, and maybe if you played the game, you knew more than I did. But like you didn't know why she was there.
Yeah.
You didn't know why she was chained. Like all of the stuff that they sort of unfold as it goes on.
Yeah.
And I thought it was done very well because like they really sort of just gave you a little bit of information here and there. This is I don't know, it's just so well done. But yeah, she's fantastic.
Yeah.
All right, what else? The writing's great.
Yeah.
The directing is great. I mean, the look of the collapsed buildings and all of that stuff is, I feel like things, that we've seen a lot of different things before. Like I sort of thought of WALL-E a little bit with the collapsed buildings and stuff, but the way it's presented here, and I'm sure it looks similar in the game, is just, again, something very unique. They really, the set designers or whoever, really brought us into that world, in a real way, I feel like.
And some of those backdrops are like shot for shot.
I kind of figured. Yeah. Because they sort of have that, like, I don't know, like video games, especially of that era, 10 years ago, whatever, have a certain sort of architectural design and stuff. And it definitely looks like that.
Yeah. And then, so talk about the infected.
Mm-hmm.
So in the game, you have the recently infected, they're called runners. They're the ones that run at you.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get to meet some clickers in episode
Oh yeah, the
2.
clickers. Yeah, the clickers.
So they are terrifying in the
Oh
game.
God.
They are terrifying on the show.
Yeah, I couldn't.
And they look exactly like they do on the game.
Oh God.
And the movement is the same. From the little video of after that episode, they said that they got some fans of the game who really like the game. They're like, oh yeah, I can do this movement. Like I've played the game so much.
Really?
Yeah, they're like, okay. So like it was like, yeah.
Wow.
So impressive. So impressive.
That was horrifying.
Horrifying.
With the gross stuff that comes out of their mouths and I played one horror video game. I played Slender Man, which was horrible and terrifying. I don't know. I feel like I would immerse myself in the game so much that it would like give me nightmares. Like I'm surprised I didn't have a nightmare after the show because I watched the first two episodes in one night, and it was and we should point out the first episode is really a double episode.
It's an hour and like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that is a double episode. I feel like the first two episodes is kind of like
a supersized miniseries
episode. It's like almost a movie.
Well,
like,
what's funny is when I saw the runtime was an hour and 20, I thought, oh, that's interesting because when I think about some of the best like dramas like that, like Lost, I think the first episode of Lost was a 2-hour movie, or maybe it was part 1 and part 2 or whatever. Yeah. But it was like a contained hour and a half, with commercials storyline. And that's how they used to do all that stuff, whatever. Columbo started with a 2-hour movie. And so I thought that was interesting. And then I listened to the podcast and they said that exact thing. They were like, it was supposed to be 10 episode season and they were all going to be 45, 50 minutes, whatever. But HBO was like, you're not giving people enough of a reason to come back with just the first 40 minutes. Yeah. We need to sort of supersize this. And so that's why it's a 9-episode season instead of 10.
And like...
Which makes sense because, there's so much setup. I don't know that it would be enticing enough for non-game players to come back.
Yeah, like the first... like when you play the video game, you don't get all the backstory of Joel and Sarah. Like you don't get that much of the backstory. You don't see Sarah doing all the stuff that she does. Basically the video game starts with you playing as Sarah, waking up and like, where's Joel? Like they had like a little bit of cutscene like on the couch with the watch and stuff like that. That's all like from the game. But like all the extra stuff, like the breakfast scene that wasn't in the game, it just added so much to it that like when I play the game and like Sarah happens, it's like it's heartbreaking, and then yet they make it even more heartbreaking on the show.
Oof, like, I should say so.
It was so that like even before the world falls apart, that was like 20 minutes. Like
right.
So
and that's the thing. So I thought it was really smart. And look, HBO is pros at this. And really the only like water cooler type thing almost that's left, because with Netflix you have all the binging and stuff. HBO has like dominated Sunday nights for 20 years, since The Sopranos and Sex and the City, really, and they know, okay, we've dropped the new episode Sunday night, everybody on Monday is going to talk about it at work or online or whatever, and we've seen it time and again with the House of the Dragon and everything else. And sure enough, every single week people are just clamoring for the new episodes, and then talking about it the whole week online.
Yeah, and like they, I think it was it the fourth episode they dropped on Friday because
that's right, because they didn't want to compete with Super Bowl Sunday.
So they dropped the fourth one only on HBO Max. You couldn't get it.
Oh, is that right?
It wasn't on HBO. It was just HBO Max.
Sneaky.
But a lot of people have HBO Max.
Right.
So like it was just like on Friday I was like, I know what I'm doing.
Right.
So the only other thing that like I would compare water cooler shows to, Disney Plus does week to week.
Yeah.
They haven't had one since WandaVision.
Yeah, I was gonna say
that was the only one.
WandaVision, the first Mandalorian season, definitely.
Yeah.
People talked about. Yeah. And I would say maybe next month Ted Lasso is going to have that effect, because now so many people have caught up on Ted Lasso.
Yeah, I think the second season of Ted Lasso people were
little bit,
like water cool. I know there was a guy at my work that was like, "Oh man, did you watch Ted Lasso?" I'm like, "Yeah, of course."
Right.
every week. Every week.
But not like this.
Like this.
This is next level. kind of water cooler stuff that, we don't get anymore. And that's when it's good, it's that much more special.
Yeah.
And this is excellent.
Yeah.
So, all right, well, 2 high grades, the highest grade there is.
Yeah.
My highest grade there is until the season's over. I mean, this is just, it's something so very special. It's going to clean up at the Emmys, like you said. Nick Offerman is definitely winning one.
Guest actor.
And I think a lot of the cast is going to, I think writing probably for that particular episode or the pilot, we may see some Emmys there as well. So thanks for joining. Was there anything else you wanted to add about this show or the game? Or
no,
I think we covered a lot of bases.
I think to just talk about the show, I think it's going to make people who are like, wait, this is a video game? I think I want to go play the video game.
Yeah.
Like, that just speaks volumes of how well this show is
right.
made.
Yeah. I don't think anyone said that after Silent Hill.
No.
And can you play this? I don't know how when they upcycle the games, can you play the original on a PlayStation 5 if you have one? I would think so, right?
I think so, but I do think that this is such a beloved game that they probably remastered it and released it on
and that would be smart if they did.
On their current
Steam
platform.
or whatever. Yeah. Okay. Well, that would make sense. Yeah, because everybody's going to be talking about this. And they already are.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we have a few episodes left to go. I have to catch up on the 3 that have dropped since the Offerman episode. And then season 2 after that.
Yeah.
So, all right, Tim, thank you for joining as always. Good conversation.
Yeah, always.
And we'll see everybody next time on Dan Reviews It. Bye.
See you.